Welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're on episode 133.
Woo, woo. 133 in the house.
And we're breaking things up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we're not doing an update or a theme episode.
Yeah, this is a Wednesday episode, which, typically is an update or a themed episode. But we've got an amazing interview lined up today. So this is super exciting. And I'm stoked about this. Our interviews are always great. I always learn tons from the people we have on. They teach us a bunch. I know that they teach, so many of our listeners things. And a lot of times it's just cool to talk and hang out with people who are, like-minded and have similar passions as we do.
So without further ado, we'd like to introduce Josh Harry Tornado. Many of you know him. He's definitely, picking it up on the YouTube. So tell us a little bit, Josh, what you're about, where people can find you, what you sell, all that good stuff.
Awesome. So first of all, thank you guys so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. I've been a longtime listener, and it's definitely an honor to be on the show with you guys. So for those of you listening or watching this, if you don't know me, my name's Josh. I go by Harry Tornado on YouTube and Instagram. That name comes from a nickname in college that used to be my Xbox Live gamer tag.
Nice.
So a lot of people wonder where that
always
came
wondered.
into play. I just thought everybody's a flipper or a picker or something, and I just wanted something that helped me stand out. And I think it's done its job. I've been reselling YouTube videos for just over a year. I've been making YouTube videos for like a year and a half. I started my channel. I wasn't even a reseller yet. So it kind of just morphed into that over a couple of months. I knew I had to pick a niche and stick with it. And then I just started reselling. I'd always been a thrifter. And then I found a Rally Roots video and I was like, oh, you can do this to make some extra money. And then I did that for 6 or 9 months or so. And then I was laid off from my job. I was an insurance underwriter before that. And when I was laid off, I was at like 250 active listings on eBay. I just got monetized on YouTube like the week before that. And it was like last August. I was like, this is a great time to try out full-time reselling. Like coming in, it was like August 18th. Like the very beginning of Q4, pretty much. I was like, I talked to my wife. We had some money saved up. I'm like, let's just try this and see what happens. So it's been pretty successful. YouTube has grown. I think at that time I was at like 1,500 subscribers and I just hit 29,000 last week.
Nice. Congrats.
Reselling is going well. I'm getting better. I'm still not, I'm doing like $5,000 or $6,000 a month on eBay gross, which is pretty good for, average. I'm not like a crazy seller. There's many, many things I don't know. I definitely don't claim to be, a know-it-all reseller, but it's fun. It's a very interesting job. I look forward to those situations where people that you meet you for the first time ask what you do. Cause I don't know, it's just fun explaining the whole process of like, I buy things and sell them and make money. And then I make videos about it and make money from that. Yeah. So it's like the 1-2 punch, which is always really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. You get to like capitalize on what you're capitalizing on, which is amazing.
Yeah, reselling and it also helps that like reselling, like the business niche of videos on YouTube is some of the highest like paid from YouTube. Like YouTube pays out what's called a CPM, which I don't know what that stands for, but it's basically like a price per 1,000 views. And videos in the reselling genre and in like the business and finance genre generally get paid way more than like video game or beauty channels. So it's a very lucrative industry to be in. It's very competitive and it's not easy, but I have enjoyed every second of it.
Wow, that's awesome. So when you first got started, you said before you got laid off, you had about 250 active listings on eBay. And you mentioned you watched a Rally Roots video that kind of got you into that, but what kind of things were you selling? Was it just things you were doing as like a hobby? Like what really got you into reselling and what were the things you were picking up?
So like I said, I'd been thrifting for a long time, but I would find like cool stuff. I'm like, man, that's not my size. I wish it was my size because that's a great deal. And then it just clicked. I was like, oh wait, I could just buy this and somebody will wear it out there in the world. So Rally Roots, I started watching them like about a year ago. So I started watching their older videos. I was picking up like the Tommy Bahamas and like, the stuff they were picking up a year before that. So I realized quickly that was not something I should do. But I started with clothing just because it was really easy to find and did pretty well with it. I thought, I don't know, I feel like a lot of resellers go through that that transition. They start with clothing and then they realize how terrible it is. And then they move on to something else later. Some people don't. Maybe some people do like clothing, but
I think
now I've moved into like hard goods and shoes. I really like shoes. I interviewed Ryan and Lindsay on Instagram. I interviewed them on my YouTube channel a couple months ago. I guess about a month ago. If you don't know them, they're a husband and wife team. Awesome. They do basically only shoes. So yeah, I just started with clothing. If I found a cool hard good, a VCR or something that I'd seen another reseller pick up, I would do it. But for the most part, it was clothing for the first 3 to 6 months, clothing and shoes. And then I've just slowly transitioned out of that. At least I've tried to over the last 6 months or so. All
right. So it seems like you moved really fast, right? Because we just had our last theme episode. I don't know. It seems like that was forever ago, right? Because so much has happened. But I had broken down like all these steps, like in order to become a full-time seller. I'm not sure you did any of those. Not that you have to. So what are some of the things like you had mentioned you went to full-time, but what are some non-negotiables that you had to kind of make sure that they were taken care of before you jump full-time? Or did you just jump full-time and go, you know what? I'm going to make this happen?
So the way I did it, I would actually not recommend anybody else do that. Okay. So when I found myself laid off, I looked at two things. Obviously, I talked with my wife because it's important to not make a rash decision like that by yourself. So we come to the conclusion. I really think it was part of God's plan, honestly, because like I said, I was monetized on YouTube the week before I was laid off. I was laid off right at the beginning of Q4, the best time to try full-time reselling. My wife was actually promoted at her job like 2 weeks before I was laid off. And she's really good financially. I am not, but we have deferred to her judgment. So we were pretty well off financially. And we were just lucky enough to have the ability to just kind of go for it. I would say if you are faced with, I would never recommend, I'd say never. I would very rarely recommend somebody to just quit their job and start reselling, because it's definitely not as easy as you think it's going to be. The idea of reselling is easy. You just buy stuff and sell it for more money. But the work and the energy and the knowledge it takes to consistently find quick selling items that can make a profit to not only provide you sustenance and provide for your family, but also provide you an extra cushion to pay your taxes and invest more into your business. It's just not that easy. I'm actually going to say that if eBay, if selling things was my only source of income, I probably wouldn't be comfortable as a full-time reseller. The only reason I do it now is because I have, the YouTube income and the Amazon affiliate income, which is really great. Thanks to my viewers just constantly supporting me and buying stuff through Amazon and my links. So, and all that just comes into play. Like if you can have multiple sources of income, whatever they may be, I think that's a huge part of becoming a full-time reseller. Like so I'm in South Carolina. My cost of living here is super low compared to you guys in California. Huh. But even for me, like I want to make like 50 grand a year, like 50 grand a year in South Carolina, like after taxes is pretty good. That's more than average. But to do that with only reselling, I'd have to sell about $120,000 a year gross, which is $10,000 a month. And if you're trying to do that on eBay, only sourcing at thrift stores and yard sales, that's tough. That's really, really tough. I don't think I know anybody that's doing that. I know people that are doing those numbers, but they have wholesale and, stuff like that. So I'm not interested in hiring employees or getting into wholesale. So for me to hit those numbers to be comfortable, I can't do it with only eBay. So that's why I incorporated the YouTube and Amazon and all those other things as well.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, that's one of the reasons we started Pure Hustle Podcast is we realized that reselling was a side hustle and potentially a full-time hustle. But for me, it's a full-time.
Yeah.
It's either it's full or it's side.
Way more money reselling than on the podcast. I'll tell you for sure.
Well, yeah, for sure. But what I'm saying though is we started the podcast knowing that resellers are the kind of people who hustle. They're the kind of people who are willing to do the extra things to have side income coming in different ways. And so it's cool that YouTube has become a side hustle for you. Do you have any other side hustles you do, or does this kind of consume all your time?
I mean, pretty much. Like right now with, everything we've got going on, I really want to get an Xbox One again, just to get into that as like a hobby. Obviously, I'm not planning on making any money with that, but I just sell. I mean, I think with reselling, your side hustles can be multiple platforms. Like I've sold a couple things on Mercari. I do a little bit on Amazon. I think I have like 6 FBA listings right now, like not very much at all, but they're selling. Like stuff I've had sent in there for over a year is selling now. I do a little bit on Facebook Marketplace, but really just flipping. Like flipping is my only source of income outside of, like YouTube and Amazon and stuff. I do coaching calls, which are super cheap because I am not a source of authority. This is just like, hey, if you want me to talk to you for like 30 minutes to an hour about your YouTube channel or your eBay store and just tell you the things I've messed up on in the last year that can help you, prevent you from doing that, then I'll talk to you. And just to make sure you're serious about help and that I'm not wasting my time, I charge $25 for that, which is crazy cheap. But again, I'm not a professional. So that's pretty much all my income sources there. Right now, YouTube is the highest, but that's you never know. So January and February, YouTube was good. eBay was good. And then Amazon and coaching calls, a couple other things, I guess. I think I made a video about all my income streams at the end of 2019, but I lose track of them. And that's a good problem to have.
Absolutely.
The more you have, the better it is,
Yeah. And, right now we're in an interesting time. I would say with everything, my speculation is no matter where this ends up, I do think reselling is going to keep moving. We'll talk. I'll hear your thoughts about that later. But, you take a look at it now, people don't have jobs, right? I know in California, I don't know how many million jobs have been shut down. You're trying to find that resource, right? You're trying to get that money and you have stuff in your house that you can sell, right? So I can definitely see people looking still to YouTube, still looking to individuals like you, listening to the podcast, trying to find ways to make that conversion, to make at least a little bit, right? To get the creditors off their backs or to be able to pay these certain bills until things, normalize again. So I had a question for you. So you had to learn things quick. That's my guess, because now you're a little different because YouTube, you're saying you started YouTube back in 2019. Is that what we're talking about?
I started my channel September of 2018, but I didn't make my first reselling video until February of 2019. Okay. So a little over a year on reselling YouTube.
And I know that income, it takes a lot to get that to be any kind of income. I mean, a lot. So at some point you had to figure out a model of reselling, right? So what did that look like for you? Like, were you sourcing every other day? Or were you a fast nickel, slow dime kind of guy? You already mentioned platforms. Like, how did you end up at a place where you made enough income where you didn't feel that you had to go back to work?
Yeah. So while I was working, all I could think about was reselling and YouTube. And I knew that was a problem. I'm like, I can't just work the rest of my life, like with this dream in my head. On my lunch break, I had an hour lunch break every day, but I was like on the clock. So it was an hour, but it was like, I clocked out, then had to go down 2 flights of stairs across, 2 blocks to my car and then drive to the thrift store. I'd try to thrift on my lunch break. Sometimes I'd try to film it. I had a series called Lunch Break Thrift Trip, and then get back and eat my lunch real fast and then get back up to the computer 2 floors up and clock in. So it was just really stressful, but I was never like, my lunch break was the happiest part of my day because that was like what I enjoyed doing. So as far as like learning everything, I really just watched other YouTubers. Like I watched a ton of Rally Roots. I watched Cincinnati Picker, a lot of Josh. A lot of Josh and I have been really good friends ever since we both kind of started at about the same time. And really, there's just so many content creators out there. Like you just watch a bunch of what sold videos. I'm like, okay, that sells for $100 for him, and he found it at a thrift store for $5. Why can't I do that? You're not going to hit home runs every time, but I'd say, I would go thrifting pretty much every lunch break, which wasn't very much. It'd be like 15 or 20 minutes, depending on the line at the thrift store. Yeah. But then I'd also maybe stop at the bins on the way home, not stay too long, so my wife wouldn't get mad at me for getting home too late. And on Saturdays, I finally talked my wife into going to some yard sales with me. So sourcing is my favorite part. And I've never had an issue with like, oh man, I got to go sourcing for more inventory. Dang it. Like that's never been an issue for me. But yeah, so the time spent sourcing was an issue. And then like what I was buying, I was just learning from other sellers and learning for what works for me. I know like this week I've sold like 6 Nintendo Wiis. So like, I know now if I go to a thrift store, I'm not going now, but if I were at a thrift store today and I found a Nintendo Wii bundle for $20, I would definitely buy it because I know for a fact I can list that and it can sell within 30 minutes right now with everything we got going on.
What are they selling for right now?
I've sold, so like if you just have the unit by itself, it depends on the model. Like if you have the one that is GameCube compatible, I sold that for $39 free shipping.
Okay.
And if you have the Wiimotes that are the black ones that say motions plus,
they're inside.
Or something like that. I sold 2 of those yesterday for like $48 shipped or something like that. Nice. And those were in a bundle. I paid $30 for the bundle. Inside the Wii, in that bundle was a copy of a GameCube copy of Super Mario Sunshine.
Oh, nice. That's a good find.
Yeah, that sold for $40 by itself. Then the unit sold for $39. The 2 controllers sold for $48. And I still have, I think, 2 games and like the power cord and all that stuff. So
yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's kind of funny you mentioned Nintendo Wii. I'm not a really big gamer just because I don't have tons of time for it. But I was like,
you play board games.
I play board games. Yeah, for sure. But I was like, okay, so I'm kind of stuck at home. I'm in this self-quarantine type situation. And so I was like, you know what? This might be the time to pick up a Nintendo Switch. You can't get them like those kinds of things are gone. They're not on Amazon. They're selling used on eBay for well above what they cost new. Like it's just it's a crazy time right now with that kind of stuff. So that being said, since you know you've had some success with those, what are the things that you're most excited to pick up? Like what are the niches that you're like, this is my niche. This is what I enjoy picking up. I enjoy selling.
Honestly, right now it's video game stuff because it's just selling so fast. Like I've always enjoyed it, but now even more so. Like I've had like Guitar Hero controllers in my death pile for a couple months, like some that are missing battery covers or missing straps that I was wanting to wait until they were complete. But now, I mean, I sold an Xbox 360 one this weekend. It was no strap and missing a battery cover, and it sold for like $65 shit.
Oh my goodness. The market has definitely changed.
Yeah, dude, it's just video games. There's nothing to do but play video games. So, I mean, everything I have, I don't even think I have any video game stuff left. I think it's all sold already. So I'm loving that right now. I've always been into shoes. I really like, I don't know, I just like shoes. Everybody needs shoes, 99.999% of the population. And I'm getting into learning about like Jordans. I picked up a pair today for $650 and I think I've listed them for $40, but they were like trashed. Like it looks like they pulled them out of a dumpster, but I looked up the brand and looked up sold comps. And I'm pretty sure they'll go pretty quickly. But yeah, shoes are almost as plentiful as clothing, but not as annoying to list.
Yeah.
And generally it's a higher ASP than like shirts. So like every thrift store in the country, you can go in and find shirts. That you might make money on, but I don't like listing clothing. I don't like how long it takes to sell. Shoes are better. They're easier to store for me. I don't have like an inventory system for my shoes. I just have a huge shelf. I just put them up there, and when they sell, I just look for them. Whereas clothing, I would have to put like in the bin and put it in a bag and put the label in the bag, and then it takes 8 months to sell, and I make $7.
Yeah.
So I like shoes. They're easy to find. I like cleaning them. It's just I just love finding like a white pair of Vans or something that's like just dirty enough. And you just take some OxyClean and a brush and they just look brand new. Like just really satisfying. Like it's not the same as like throwing stuff in the washing machine and then it gets it clean. It's like actually physically cleaning it yourself and making it look new. Just, I don't know. It's just rewarding, I guess.
Nice.
That's good. Well, it's interesting you mentioned video games and shoes because those are actually, they are selling well. I mean, we already talked about video games, but shoes are selling well right now.
Yeah, I've had a few shoe sales recently that I'm like, I had somebody buy.
So we're quarantined.
Yeah.
Right. But I guess you still need shoes to walk in the house.
Yeah. Well, someone bought a pair of Allen Edmonds and I'm thinking like, man, like now's the time to be getting those really nice dress shoes, right? I guess. So you just never know.
But hey, we're trying to provide value. So if you're listening, I really will say list everything. But if you have video games and you have shoes, you have board games. I mean, I'm selling board games right now. I mean, all the things that I kind of was like, everybody's jumping on the bandwagon, right? Like, oh, let's just do board games. But reality is, it's selling right now.
Yeah. It's one of those times where like, I'm sure you guys have gotten it before, but I get comments on my videos all the time. If I'm like telling people about brands or items that I'm picking up that are selling for good money, people are like, oh, thanks. You just ruined the market by telling all your subscribers. I'm like, first of all, don't have that many subscribers compared to the 350 million people that are in this country. And second of all, there's plenty of meat left on the bone to go around. Even in times like these, I mean, anybody could list a Nintendo Wii right now and it would sell pretty much instantaneously. A Nintendo Switch, like video games are just going, puzzles are going. Any indoor activity books, like a lot of people are selling music books, homeschool materials and stuff like that. Like, this is the time that we can share these bolos with people, and the market doesn't matter. Like the demand
and
is
people
so
can't get
much
them
more than the supply right now.
I know. Well, and they can't get them unless you have them already, right? Or unless you find the source. But that's what I like about this episode, because this episode is going to be different than any other interview, because everything that we drop right now, this could be relevant for 6 months, right? Or it could be relevant for 2 weeks. We don't know. We just don't know. But what I do know is that right now, like the thing with Amazon, right? Amazon isn't delivering certain items for over a month, right? So if you're selling on eBay right now, a non-essential like a video game, you have an advantage over Amazon. So if you're listening, take advantage of that. Don't think that I'm just going to merchant fulfill on Amazon. You go to eBay, you ship faster, your stuff will sell faster. That's just my thoughts. I don't know. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like, have you tried to buy something on Amazon and it's like delivery April 21?
Yep.
Yeah. I ordered some more tape. This is my last roll of eBay tape, and I ordered it on Amazon yesterday, and I ordered it, and then I saw that it wasn't getting delivered until mine said May 1st.
May 1st. So wild.
Yeah. And speaking of which, I mean, Walmart, I bought a toy for my son today, or not today. I bought it like last week, but it just got here today, and it was through a third party on Walmart with their fulfillment thing. And it was much quicker than I would have been able to get it through Amazon. So Amazon is definitely not necessarily the place to do any kind of buying from right now. It's a good opportunity to be selling on eBay and to be that fast shipping, because people are excited when they get something faster than they could get it from Amazon.
Oh yeah. And we can do that. I mean, thank goodness that the post office is still moving. Right? That has not slowed down one bit. All right. Yep. So, all right. Well, you kind of answered this question already. So you have no prerequisites, and like you can definitely go part-time and full-time without a problem. Is that where you land on, Josh?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like Gary Vee always talks about like I'm 29 right now.
Yeah.
And I realized that when I was laid off, that nothing I had done in my life up until that point, like, really mattered, because I was unemployed, and I was like, I could just do eBay right now. I could have done this out of high school and be a multimillionaire. But now, like, I went to college, I dropped out. I'm only 9 credits short of a bachelor's degree. And I don't know, I just, out of spite, I just don't want to go back. Like, I just,
it's only 9 credits though, Josh. That's like 3 classes.
Yeah. I'm just not in it, man. I was so frustrated. It's a long story. This could be a whole, my college story is just an entire interview by itself. But I don't know. It's just like in your 20s, even in your 30s or 40s, man, that if you just want to take a year, just take a year out of your life and just try something new. Like, I hate when people nowadays, we're telling kids in 8th grade to pick their major in middle school.
Right. And
then you stick with your major through high school and then college. And then you get a job and you wake up one day and you're 60 and you realize you've always wanted to be a fighter pilot or something, and you just have never had the guts to try out even testing your fear of heights, And I don't know. I'm glad I had the realization earlier in life. I'm only 29, but it just sucks. There's a lot of people out there that are just stuck in that. It's really a ditch. They think they're successful with their own insurance agency or whatever, I don't want to badmouth insurance agencies, but for a couple of years, I thought that's what I was going to do. I thought I was going to eventually own my own insurance agency one day and have a really stable income for my family. But really the only true stable source of a stable job is working for yourself. When anytime you're dependent on somebody else to, even if it's you working for them, you're still dependent on them to make your paycheck, to allow you to work there. I'd made a video about it in the past, but when I was working at my last job as an insurance underwriter, I had every intention on working there for 20 or 30 years, getting a nice retirement. And I don't know, it was an easy job. It was boring. I didn't like it, but I was good at it and I felt safe. And then literally 30 seconds later, bam, I've let go, health insurance gone, everything gone. So I don't know. Now that I'm working for myself, times like this are definitely scary. I think it's scary for everybody.
Yeah.
But it would be scary for me if I was working at an insurance office too.
Now, do you feel I don't know. You mentioned about times like this are scary. And I thought when this hit, like, I thought I was going to be like scared. Like I was going to, like, I had somebody, actually a good friend of mine, email me and say, "Hey, Orlando, can you write me a letter of reference? Like, I think I'm going to go back to work." Like, they were doing like real estate and they're actually looking to go back in the classroom. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, is this something I should be considering? And I got to tell you, in this last week, I haven't felt that. Like, not at all. So are you kind of still thinking this full-time gig is going to last despite how long this may go?
Yeah, I'm not worried about the reselling business going under anytime soon. There's always going to be a market for used items. The only thing we have to do as resellers to make sure our heads are above water is adapt and change our items that we're selling. I'm not going to be able to sell Nintendo Wiis in 10 years. Like, that's going to be obsolete, but we have to constantly grow and study the market, see what things people are buying and figure out how to get them somewhere else cheaper and sell them to them through eBay or through whatever marketplace is applicable at the time. The idea of buying and selling, even if the economy collapses and, it's an apocalyptic, Walking Dead situation, you could still set up a little shop and sell, guns and canned goods or whatever. It's just, you just have to have the know-how to collect all that stuff. Everything, there's always going to be something that people are willing to pay for, no matter what happens, no matter what happens, anything could happen. There's always going to be something in demand. So I'm not worried about us. It's just, I don't think resellers are ever going to struggle any more than restaurant workers are right now. Yeah,
it's so fascinating. I'm telling you, like, I went, and I know this isn't my interview, this is your interview, but I totally understand where you're coming from. Like you just said, there's a lot of people that felt secure in their jobs 2 weeks ago, right? You never thought, but now I'm making more money on a single day than maybe if I was still teaching, which is just mind blowing to me. Right now, granted, if I was teaching, it'd still be steady because now teachers, all they have to do is go home and now they got to teach from home. Right. But it changes a lot. And Mike's you're not in private education anymore, but when we're in private education, that's a scary field for us. Right. Because our people now, if everything's remotely, are people going to be willing to pay massive amounts of money to educate their children? So,
yeah,
I don't know.
I think my biggest thing is that when you make the jump from, a steady, corporate job to working for yourself in something like, you sell stuff on eBay. What's your real job?
Yeah.
People like to compare only the financial aspect of it. Like, oh, what about your benefits? What about your insurance? I'm like, well, my benefit, like my company was giving me a 3% match in my 401k, which was basically $1,200 a year. So I'm like, okay, if I can make an extra $1,200 a year, then I can just pay my own benefits, match my own 401k.
That's a great point. Yep.
But people don't want to value your happiness. Like, you can look at a job like, okay, as a teacher, in South Carolina, teachers new teachers probably make like $35,000 to $40,000 before taxes. And they're like, okay, that's decent. But what if you want to be a photographer? And they're like, oh, well, photographers only make like $30,000 a year and you don't have the state benefits of being a teacher. But what if you're 1,000 times happier being a photographer than you would be a teacher? So I don't know. I think people only think about the money aspect of it. Like I said, Gary Vee talks about all the time. Like, would you rather make $120,000 a year but be completely miserable, or make $50K a year and just be doing what you absolutely love every single day of your life? And I think when you take that happiness factor and really value that to where it needs to be valued, obviously you have to value the financial aspect of it too. We need to provide for our families and be able to afford things. But I don't know. I just think money gets put on a pedestal. Money isn't everything. You gotta value your happiness. I know a lot of people. I used to be a financial coach, like a Dave Ramsey style financial coach. And I met a lot of miserable people making six figures.
Right.
And it's just, they don't tell you about it, and I can't tell you about it because of confidentiality. But you'd be surprised at how many miserable rich people there are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And speaking of happiness, I mean, you talked earlier in the interview how much you enjoy sourcing, how much you enjoy thrift stores and garage sales, and being that that's kind of on pause right now. Let's take a trip down memory lane. What are some of your favorite like garage sale stories, like big finds or interesting things that have happened?
So, I haven't had that huge flip. Like, oh, I've got this for $2 and sold it for 10,000. I did find a Vitamix. Yeah, I found a Vitamix blender at a yard sale. I paid $8 for it and sold it for $260, I think.
Nice.
Something like that. But the best thing about that was that it was the last garage sale of the day. Like, we were on the way home. I'd already bought a bunch of stuff, and it was like 12:15 or something. And we just passed one on the side of the road. And I was like, let's stop there. And actually got the Vitamix and a pair of Harley Davidson boots. I think it was like $12 for everything. The boots sold for $50, I think. But that Vitamix blender sold for about $260. And I don't know, man, I love going to yard sales. You just never know what you're going to find. One of my best feelings in thrift stores is when it's crowded. There's a bunch of people in there, and you just go to the back and you just see something worth like $100 just sitting there. And just knowing that you can see the value in that item that all these other people missed. Right. Nobody, even the cashiers are like, oh, what are you going to do? This nasty thing. Yep. Like, I'm going to collect it and fix it up. Yep. I'm not going to tell you I'm going to sell on eBay for $150,
Okay, so let's rewind a little bit. How did you get to a place? Because, I'm pretty sure in the beginning, after you're watching YouTube videos, you're going out, you're finding things, and then you realize Tommy Bahama wasn't it. and then you started, you kept doing the phone thing, but you probably came to a place where you could spot things out without needing to take your phone out. Yeah. So what led you, like, how did you self-educate to get to that place? Was it just a YouTube, or was it a lot of trial and error? Or was it that eventually you found certain niches that you were good at?
I mean, I think the combination of YouTube and trial and error. I think with YouTube, it gets really exciting in the beginning. So you maybe find like Tommy Hilfiger was like really popular when I started last year. So I would see anything Tommy Hilfiger, and I was like, oh man, this is awesome. Like, this shirt's $475. I'm going to sell it for $50. And it wasn't true. Like, Tommy got super saturated. So I just learned that, I don't pick up Tommy now. I passed on one in a video the other day, and somebody said, a few people in the comments said I should have picked it up. I'm like, whatever, man. That's not what I'm focused on right now. Right. But like Magnavox, there's a Magnavox VCR DVD combo unit that I find like once every 2 months. And I can see those things from across the store, man. I'll look at the electronics. I see it with those silver buttons on the front. I'm like, there it is, baby. That's $220 on Amazon FBA all day long. So it's just, trial and error and just experience, being a reseller for over a year. There's just those certain items that are pretty common to find, like Nintendo Wii's now. Like, that's the first thing I look for. I look in the glass case up front. It's just trial and error and just experience. Like, whatever, you make a big sale, you make a sale that's really profitable for you, you're always going to remember that item, and you're going to be at least subconsciously looking for it every time you go sourcing. So yeah, I've never really done any. Occasionally I'll do like some product research. Like, I did a video last week where I just looked up some bolos, just random crazy bolos for a video. But most of my product research is done in the store. Like, now that I'm full-time, I have the ability to go to a thrift store and spend more than 15 minutes in there on my lunch break. So I'll go just to the electronics section and just look up model numbers. That's really, if you want to learn fast, that's the best way to do it. Just look up everything. And when you look up something once and you find out it's worth $200, your brain is going to remember that for you. You're not going to have to worry about writing it down. Right. At least that's my experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And speaking of trial and error, what were maybe some of the errors that you've had, maybe some mistakes you made either early on or even recently?
So one of my favorite things about reselling is that even if you make an absolutely awful mistake, you probably won't lose money. Like, unless you buy like an Amazon return pallet or something dumb like that I would never recommend anybody doing.
Have you bought one before?
No, okay. I've seen videos, man. And people spending like $3,000 on it. Anytime you spend, I would never spend more than like $100 on something that I couldn't return. Like, hey, Amazon's like, hey, spend $3,000 on this, and we're not going to tell you what's inside. It's probably broken, and you can't return it. That's not what I'm into. I know maybe some people make some good money on that, but I'm very risk averse. I like spending $5 on stuff I can sell for 50, not 3,000 that I'd be lucky to break even on. But again, that's just my opinion. As far as mistakes, I think my most costly mistakes haven't been on sourcing, but on shipping. Like the first VCR I ever sold, I did free shipping, and it sold to a buyer in Hawaii. So shipping it from South Carolina to Hawaii, it was like 12 pounds or something. So it was like $47, and I'd sold it for $49.99 free shipping.
Yep.
So, and I paid like $5 for it. So even though, basically lost a couple dollars, that I think that was my worst mistake, my most costly mistake.
So what have you done to prevent that from happening again? What do you do now?
Yeah. So now anything over 2 pounds, I make sure to, like, anytime I have a VCR or anything big like that, I'll box it up when I'm listing it, like get it ready to, like, if it sells, I can ship it instantly. And then I actually do the actual dimensions and weight of it. Pretty much anything over 2 to 3 pounds. If I know it's big, generally with shoes and stuff, I know most shoes are going to cost between $8 and $15 or so, depending where they go. So I just put those in at 2 pounds, but anything heavy. One thing I do is avoid sourcing heavy things that aren't going to sell for a significant amount of money. Right. I had a viewer ask me a question today, I think in an email, about what do you do with heavy, like how do you control shipping on heavy items? I have an item that, is selling for $25, but it's going to cost $80 to ship. I'm like, nobody's going to buy that, no matter what that is. Like, I can't think of any item that somebody would pay $25 for and then $80 to ship. Yeah. Like that's not something I would want to source.
Yeah. You got to go local at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know, like I'll buy VCRs, but I go for those Magnavox ones that are, 200, they sell for 220 used on FBA and about 160, used on eBay. It's this one right here.
Oh, this is like a bolo episode. You got all these bolos that we're dropping on this one.
I'm going to get this listed, but this
that's a nice one. Yep.
It's the ones that say DVD recorder right there. Money.
Yeah. No,
I sold this on Amazon and it was returned because a lot of people on Amazon use these to like transfer VHS to DVDs, right, and then they return them.
Yep.
So I'm just going to sell it on eBay this time. But,
it's interesting you bring that up, Josh, because there is an uptick on the price of those. So the prices on those, they didn't tank, but they did go down a year ago. And it's because there was a lot of YouTube. I'm gonna say I think it was because of YouTube videos. But then what I'm noticing, and I think there's a discussion on Reddit about this too, that they are going up in price again. And
they stopped making them. So
yeah, they stopped making. There's no more VCRs being made. But now I could even see now that get those VHS collections that are out, get them listed. I mean, whatever you can list, I would say list if it's related to indoor, because you will most likely be able to sell it somehow, right? As long as the price point and the right buyer and so on.
Yeah. I'm having luck selling outdoor stuff too. I sold a baseball glove today, a baseball bat this weekend. I don't know why. I don't know who they're going to play with, but they're buying it.
It is interesting. Have you had some weird sales, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true even with the outdoor stuff. Like there are, even with like California right now, I don't know what it's like where you're at in South Carolina, but right now we have the shelter in place kind of guidelines out.
Stay home order.
Yeah, but that doesn't prevent you from being able to go on hikes and do those things. In fact, they're actually having to shut down certain areas because there's too many people home that are going to like hike in places. So it's actually more crowded than it should be. But yeah, I mean, there are people who are still going to parks or going out and playing out in their front yard. Like, it's not like people are just inside. So I think that there's kind of two ends of being home. There's those who are just going to play video games, right? So we see the uptick in video games, but then there's those who are like, hey, mom's home or dad's home, and maybe they're usually not, and the kids are home and they're not at school. Let's go out and play some ball, right? Let's catch. And so I definitely do think that there will be some uptick in those sales also.
As long as there's social distancing. Yeah. As long as people stay home or away from others.
I mean, if you're throwing a ball, you're going to be further than 6 feet.
I had the weirdest experience today, though. I went to the post office to drop off packages, and the lady looked at me, and I knew we had like 3 feet almost between us by the time I crossed her. So she purposely moved over like 4 feet. I'm like, things are real right now. Like no one, like you see kids on bikes and you see people like moving away and scurrying. I'm like, oh man, like I hope this passes soon. Just an interesting time. All right. Speaking of the times right now, Josh, talk to me a little bit. How you talked a little bit earlier about how you've been adapting now to this quarantine life, reselling home, etc.
So yeah, I started, I still have a little bit of a death pile. I started listing some stuff, listed all my video game stuff from my death pile. But again, it's like, I don't know, it's going on about a week and a half for me. Like I stopped, going out, stopped sourcing last week. So I'm getting to the point in my death pile where I'm like having to make the decision, like, yeah, I guess I could list this and it might sell for like $5, but I filled up like 3 or 4 trash bags today with just a bunch of small stuff that I'd bought over the years that I'm, digging down to and like, seeing it now. And, I'm just redonating that stuff. I do it. I don't know. I'd recommend doing it like every 6 months. Just go through your death pile and like, if something's not worth your time, if something's just, you're not going to enjoy listing it, or even if you list it, it's not going to sell for very much money, just redonate it. Right. For me, that just teaches me a lesson. Like, you dummy, don't buy that again. That was a terrible buy. A lot of it came from the bins. Like in the bins, I'm like, oh, this is 10 cents, man. I could sell it for $8. That's a huge profit margin. But then you get it home and it sits in your death pile for 8 months and it's just not worth listing anymore. So not a huge loss. Like I said, most of it came from the bins. But it's nice to get that, just that free up that space, and physically and mentally, I guess it just makes it more clear to work. I do everything out of my garage. I have my office here for YouTube, but all my eBay stuff is in the garage. So any space I can free up out there is helpful at this time. I went through, did a little bit of bookkeeping. Don't really like that. I use GoDaddy bookkeeping. It does most of my stuff for me. But yeah, man, I really hope I just want to get back out there, just start making thrifting videos again. Cause it's tough trying to keep up with YouTube as well, because there's only so many videos you can make at home. Yeah. Like I did the bolo video last week. I did, probably tomorrow I'll do a what sold for this past weekend. And one thing I'll say about that, when all this happened, I saw a huge attitude of like, oh, it's cool, we can just make YouTube videos now. But now so many people are making YouTube videos. Like it's basically inflation. Like there's only so many people that are interested in reselling videos, and I'm trying to watch as many as I can. But it seems like every reselling channel I'm subscribed to is posting basically daily videos. So it's actually for me personally, my last couple of videos have gotten fewer views than average. So there's competition out there, man. It's not. I thought that more people would be watching because more people were at home, but more people are at home making videos, and just, I guess, less people are watching. So it's interesting, but
there's supply and demand even when it comes to viewers and content, right?
Yeah. But I think it'll rebound. I mean, this last week was a shakeup. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people are like in survival mode, right? In the sense of like, even Instagram, we're still growing. Our podcast is still growing. I mean, we took a little bit of a dip, but what I've noticed is that a lot of people are just trying to figure out life right now. Right. And I think whether this becomes part of our normal life, I hate saying that, but let's say it does. Let's say we're still in this scenario 6 months from now. Like I would give it about a month and things will start rebounding. Right. It's just going to be different. Like we're going to be living indoors instead of outdoors, but I believe there's going to be still sourcing going on, right? Online arbitrage is still going to be taking place. People are still going to want products. Like it's still going to happen. It's just going to be different, right? So your content that you'll be creating may be how to source on eBay or how to, I don't know. I don't know. What, but speaking of sourcing, what are you going to do? Like eventually, if, let's say your inventory dwindles, what are you looking to for options?
I don't know. I've had some pretty good luck just going through older listings and just ending them. Okay. Sometimes ending and relisting with a different price. Sometimes I'll retake photos if the photos are really bad. Okay. I think I've made 5 or 6 sales last week just relisting old inventory. Stuff that's been sitting for a year. Literally, I had some soap. I had some Dawn dish soap that I got retail arbitrage at Dollar Tree. I thought it was the best find ever. it's 4 bottles. I paid $4 for it plus tax, and I had it listed for like $12.99 free shipping forever. Never sold. And then I ended it, relisted it for $15.99 plus or free shipping, and it sold within like an hour.
Huh.
So I mean, that's what you can do. I mean, eventually, if they keep extending our stay inside, I will eventually run out of things to sell. But I guess I could list stuff I have sitting around. I don't know.
You got some guitars in the back.
It's a cool hat you're wearing. We can throw that up.
Yeah. I'm not too worried about it. It's I think if you're thinking about becoming a full-time reseller, one of the key things that I would recommend is having a significant savings account.
100%.
Which is the only reason my wife and I are not panicking right now. We have pretty good savings account saved up. I mean, we could probably last like a year, just if that were the case.
So you do have non-negotiables. That is a non-negotiable right there.
Yeah, I would say like if you don't have a savings account, you should not be a full-time reseller. 100%. 100%. I don't care what you're selling. I don't care how many active listings you have. I don't care how good you are. If you do not have money in the bank, do not be a full-time reseller.
Agreed.
That's changed my mind. What does that mean? The guy sitting at the table. Yeah. That's something I'm super passionate about, which is, I really think that's the only reason that my wife and I were comfortable with me trying it, because it wasn't really a financial risk for us. Like if it didn't work out, I knew eBay would be there for Q4. Like I knew I could hustle with eBay. I had 40 hours a week freed up, so obviously we weren't going to starve. But now this is almost the same situation, almost scarier, because it's not Q4. It's the opposite. Mm-hmm. We don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. But still the comfort is there because of that savings. So having an emergency fund is super, super important for anybody, but especially resellers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've dropped some like 2 really big things, I think, that kind of are like life advice. One, the savings account. That's huge. You even mentioned kind of the Dave Ramsey style, like financial coaching. I mean, I'm sure you got a lot of that knowledge and understanding from that. And then also you talked before about kind of doing something you care about, the happiness. The people sometimes only think of price, like how much they get paid as opposed to what their value of life is. I like to ask my listeners or the people we're interviewing so our listeners can hear, what's like a key value or life advice that you live by or something that our listeners could benefit from?
That's a good question. And so I think it's a quote from Dave Ramsey, and it's something not word for word, but it's something like, business isn't that hard. If you just care about your customers, the profits will follow. And I think in reselling and in YouTube, like as long as you care about the people you're helping, as long as the stuff you're selling on eBay is of good quality and you're not lying in your descriptions, if you're operating your business with integrity, on YouTube, if you're making content that actually helps people, you're not doing it for the views, you're not getting involved in the drama and all that crap. If you truly care about your business and operating with integrity, the money is always going to follow. And some people are like, hey, that's not true. There's a lot of nice guys that go out of business. I'm like, yeah, you have to be involved in a business. There's like a Christian bookstore in our town that's going out of business now. And it's super sad, but I'm like, it's just the market. Like, I mean, there's only so many people that want to pay up for something like that. Why would I buy a book from you for $40 so I can go to Amazon and get it for $12? It's just common sense. So that's sad. But as long as you, for the most part, as long as you have integrity and operate your business with the customer and their experience as the forefront in the forefront of your mind, I think you're going to be all right.
It's good. Thank you.
I agree. I mean, it's as much, and right now, as much as, Amazon and their fair pricing policy, but that's what they're doing right now, right? Because a lot of people are concerned and they're scared. And I think on eBay, I think it's a good lesson for us too, that right now to work with people, right? Because I don't know if are you getting messages, Josh, like I can't pay today, but I can pay in a couple of days, or are you getting any of those? Maybe it's just me.
Not lately. I mean, I've gotten them before. Hey man, I really want these shoes. Like I've gotten people that'll buy something and then not pay.
Yeah.
Then I send them the payment reminder and they're like, hey man, I really want these shoes, but my cat has to have surgery and it's going to be 6 weeks until I can pay for them. I'm like, well, sorry,
Well, the ones I'm getting right now is, hey, I can pay this much, but I can't pay for the shipping. And I don't know, you might disagree, but I've buckled. I've said, okay, I'll give it to you free ship.
Such a nice guy.
No, not a nice guy, but it's sales conversion, like keeping the algorithm triggered. And at the same time, that's $50 I may not be able to get in a week. Like, to me, it's day by day right now.
Yeah.
Like, there are sales coming in right now. I shared with Mike before the podcast that I'm making just as much right now as I was before everything fell apart. Not fell apart. That's a terrible way. But, we all know what I'm talking about.
It basically fell apart.
Yeah. I think, I mean, anyways, yeah. Okay. But you just got to go with it right now. To me, and my advice to our listeners, to anybody, Josh, whoever's listening out there, you got to make those sales happen right now, because we don't know how long those sales are going to continue. This could be renaissance of reselling maybe in the next few weeks, as people are just going to go online, or it could be a tough time and we're going to have to be thankful for every sale. We don't know. So you got to go day by day on this one. So
yeah, I think that's especially true with Poshmark. I follow a lot of Poshmark sellers on Instagram, and they are really struggling right now because people just aren't buying clothes, like occasionally, but shoes are still doing well. But as far as clothing only sellers, they're struggling. So now is definitely no time to be greedy. Even with my hard goods and shoes, if I get a decent offer where I get a lot of hate because I sell shoes for $18, $20 sometimes, but my buy cost is so low. So even at that point, after fees and shipping, I'm still more than doubling my money. So I'm like, hey, whatever. Like, these shoes have been listed for 7 months. Yeah. And you're sending me an offer in a time like this where I don't know where my next sale is coming from. Yeah, I'll take it.
That's good advice. I mean, I just sold a pair of Christian Louis Vuittons. You know what those are? No. Those super expensive women's high heels. Like, they cost like $1,000, whatever. I had them listed for $450 and I took $200. Like, you just got to make it happen. Just got to make it happen.
Yeah, that might be actually a tool that we could use with eBay arbitrage, right? If 100%, you're trying to purchase, we talked before.
Don't come to my store though.
About potentially buying off collections from people.
If you're like in like LA or California, or a place where thrift stores are charging $15, $20, $30 for used shoes, you can go on eBay. I see used shoes selling all the time for $1.99 or 99 cents, plus shipping. There's a lot of inexperienced sellers on eBay that are severely underselling themselves, mainly with auctions. I don't know why people think they should auction off a pair of shoes. That's just the dumbest thing. If you're listening, do not auction off clothing or shoes.
So I think Josh is buying now.
Yeah.
Do you do best offer, or you just fix price?
I do have best offer turned on most of my listings, just in case. Of course, I get the low balls. I think I had a baseball bat listed for like $80, and somebody sent me an offer of like $9. I'm like, no, dude. So yeah, it gets kind of frustrating. But with auctions, anytime you're auctioning off something that isn't, I don't know, it's just a commodity. It's just like shoes. Like, anybody, you could go buy them on eBay for $20. Why am I going to bother bidding on yours? No. I don't know. I see a lot of really nice shoes like Brooks or anything like that just sell for 99 cents plus shipping, because people auction them off and they have terrible pictures and they're probably in really good condition, but they just don't know what they're doing.
It's another bolo that just got dropped. This is the bolo episode. Like, we have not had but it's a different time.
This is the Hairy Tornado bolos.
Yeah. So, all right. So Josh, let's do some speculation here. So we don't know where things are going to end up, but we've talked a little bit about it. What do you think? Where do you think reselling is going? So can you give us two scenarios? Because we have to go with two scenarios. What are your thoughts?
So I think you can go two ways. Like, one, people that aren't reselling now get really desperate for cash, and they start Googling and YouTube searching ways to make money, and they stumble upon one of my videos or some other resellers' videos, and then they get interested. And then once thrift stores open back up, they start reselling. Not too threatened by that, because people like that don't realize how hard it is. Right. Like, yeah, they might make an extra couple $100 to help them temporarily, but as far as being a long-term competitor to me, not worried about that. And then I guess the other way is just people just completely get out of the side hustle mindset, and things just get so bad that people quit reselling to go back to the corporate world because they need something with benefits because they're starving. Right. I don't know. I don't really think that's going to happen at all. It's, I don't know. I think it's weird to make estimates about what can happen in a time like this. I think everybody, reselling or not, everybody's just going to struggle for a couple months. But then once everything gets cleared up, whether that be this summer or this fall, I think there's going to be a huge boom in everything, travel especially. So I don't know. I think if we think about the good things that come along with everything that's going on right now, like so many people, like I watch a lot of TikToks, and I love it when like, kids are home from college and, there's nothing to do. So they just make some crazy TikTok dance video with their grandparents or whatever. Like everybody's just sitting at house, nothing else to do. So I don't know. I think this time is really just giving everybody a break, like just letting everybody just focus on what really matters. And yeah, it's kind of scary, but it could always be worse. There's what's the mortality rate, like 2% or something? It could be 30, So I think it's definitely a weird situation.
It's weird that we're even having this conversation right now. This is so surreal right now. So surreal.
Yeah. I really don't think we realize how significant this is. Like, I mean, we're going to be talking about this with our grandkids. Like, oh, tell us the story about when the world shut down.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. Literally, the world has shut down.
Yep. It has. So, and we don't know when we drop this episode on Wednesday, we'll see how things go. It is Monday, by the way, if you're listening to the podcast. And so some of the stuff hopefully is still relevant and everything's all good by Wednesday. But Josh, we really appreciate you coming on to the podcast. Any last minute things you want to share, like where to find you and so on?
So I'm on YouTube and Instagram as Harry Tornado. I'm not a professional, but if you guys ever have any questions or comments, I'm really responsive on Instagram. So shoot me a message, shoot me a DM there. I'll be happy to help you any way I can. I try to make like I guaranteed 2 videos a week on my YouTube. I'm trying to do 3, but right now I'm struggling. Yeah. So I think there'll be a video out tomorrow. But yeah, we'll get through this together. And if you want to connect with me, if you haven't seen or heard from me before, then that's where to find me. Harry Tornado, YouTube and Instagram.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Josh. Mike, you have anything you want to add?
No, I mean, I'm just so grateful to have you on. I mean, you're obviously a smart guy. You know what you're doing. Appreciate everything you're doing for the community and just super excited to have you on the podcast. So thank you for taking the time for this. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time. So with that being said, everybody, make sure to be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling. Peace.